It's finally time for the ultimate wide toe box work boot showdown, where we're gonna pit all these brands against each other, cut them in half, run through all of our tests to finally figure out how durable are each of these compared to each other, how comfortable are they, how wide are they, how work ready are they from your weekend warrior all the way up to your really heavy duty work, which of these is the best value, and ultimately, who reigns supreme and is king of the wide toe box work boot world. Starting with the most affordable, working our way up to the least affordable. First, we got the Hawx. So if you don't know who Hawx is, it's a boot barn brand where they have over 400 locations. So this is really nice because any of the Hawx brand stuff, you can usually go try it on person. And they're a lot more affordable than a lot of the other work boot brands. And so then what is this boot? Well, the brand is Hawx. The style is the Enduro. They weigh this much. They retail for a very affordable $145. And they're made in Vietnam. And the way they position this boot is engineered for the demands of the modern work days. These boots combine rugged durability, superior comfort, and essential safety features to keep you performing at your best from clock in to clock out. Up next is a boot from Keen. This is the Cincinnati. Keen is really well known in the work boot world, but especially for their wider toe box. It's one of the very first brands that really introduced wide toe box, and this is probably one of their most popular, if not the most popular work boot that they make. So what is this boot? Well, the brand is Keen. The style is the men's Cincinnati 6-inch waterproof boot with the soft toe. They weigh 2 pounds even. They retail for $190. They're made in India, and the way that Keen positions this product is lightweight comfort meets classic heavy-duty welted style. This 6-inch waterproof soft toe blends burly performance with all-day wearability. You go to any job site, you're probably gonna find one of these on there. Next up is the Red Wing. This is one of their more modern boots. You know, Red Wing is really well known in the workspace for their more modern boots, but they're also really, really well known, if not more well known, in the heritage space for their true heritage boots, the Iron Rangers, the classic construction. And that's why I was really interested in this boot. I was really hoping it blended some of the heritage with the modern to make a truly unique modern boot with a nice wide toe box. So what is this boot? Well, the brand is Red Wing. The style is the King Toe. They weigh 1 pound 11 ounces. They retail for $245. They're made in Cambodia, and the way they position this product is get exceptional comfort and durability with performance from the waterproof medium duty boot with electrical hazard non-metallic safety toe protection that offers 44% more toe room than standard work boots. 44, I think its total volume is increased because it definitely was not 44% wider on as the crow flies. I don't know, like flat out. I don't know, definitely not how you use as the crow flies in the footwear world. Next to Barefoot. So these were one of the first guys that were really trying to make a more heritage style, wide toe box, zero, true barefoot. You know, because some of these boots are gonna be more in the barefoot world. Others are gonna be more like these Keens and the Red Wings, where they're more of a regular work boot that have that wide toe box. Because this is not a barefoot showdown, it's a wide toe box showdown. So you're gonna see a blend of both. So what is this boot? The brand is Barefoot. The style is the Bruin. They weigh 1 pound 11 ounces. They retail for $250. They are made in Mexico. And the way they position this product is go toe to toe with nature in the Bruin. A new breed of boot made for everyday adventurer, designed to strengthen your feet while exploring off the grid or the concrete jungle. Next up, another really big brand in the workwear space, Thorogood. They are mostly known for their more traditional workwear with their mock toe work boots, and this is their newest addition to their boot lineup, the Genesis. What is this boot? Well, the brand is Thorogood. The style is their new Genesis boot. They weigh 2 pounds 4 ounces. They retail for $280, and they're made in the USA with USA and globally sourced components. And the way they position this product is Genesis boot combines a nitro outsole, combination last, and custom orthotic insert for exceptional comfort and durability. The most technologically advanced boot Thorogood has ever made are designed to keep your feet safe, dry, and comfortable in any work environment. Next boot, back to Keen. So this is their most recent boot that they've released in their lineup, and it's really pretty boundary pushing it, but there's some pros and cons that we're gonna have to consider with it. So what is this boot? Well, the brand is Keen. The style is the men's Liberty 6-inch boot, soft toe. They weigh 1 pound 12 ounces. They retail for $285, and they say they're assembled with pride in Portland, Oregon, using the finest materials from around the world. And the way they position this product is traditions evolve with this 6-inch American-built soft toe style, featuring our ultra comfortable fit, premium leathers from LWG certified tanneries, and air-infused midsole support. Next up, another really small company in Carets. They're really trying to push the limits in the true barefoot space with all the zero drop stuff. Not near as much bulk underneath your foot, but one of the only guys that's really making a super wide steel toe work boot. So what is this boot? Well, the brand is Carets. The style is the Determination safety boots. They weigh 1 pound 12 ounces. They retail for $290. They're made in Mexico, and the way that Carets positions this product is Carets appears to have a heel, but your foot rests inside for a zero drop fit. You get the same natural and upright posture as being barefoot for happy ankles, knees, and back, but with a sophisticated look. Next to one of my favorites, I designed this with Jim Green, so fair warning. And we designed this boot like a year and a half ago, and I still think it's pretty unique amongst the lineup. We designed this boot specifically for this category. I think we'd be doing a disservice by not including it. So say what you will. We're gonna give it a little handicap. We'll give it a 1-point handicap on every score that we give it, so chill out. So what is this boot? Well, the brand is Jim Green X Rose Anvil. The style is the rugged African Trooper. They weigh 2 pounds 5 ounces. They retail for $299. They're made in South Africa, and the way we position this product is nobody really made this boot, and so we made it. Next to another traditional boot that is extremely wide. So this is a fairly new brand in Texerado. They've only been around for a few years, but they're really pushing the industry, pushing the limits, and making some really high quality stuff. So what is this boot? Well, the brand is Texerado. The style is the Bailey boot. They weigh 1 pound 8 ounces. They retail for $399. They're made in Leon, Mexico, and the way that they position this product is named after our hometown, Bailey, Colorado. Our Bailey boot is extremely versatile, well-rounded, active boot. A great chore boot capable of adventure. And then finally, last one in the lineup. So what is this boot? Well, the brand is Nix. The style is the Ridgeline. They weigh 1 pound 14 ounces. They retail for $495, and it's made from the United States, truly, not from imported parts or from global parts, whatever. And the way they position this product is built for the trail, tough as a P&W work boot. The Ridgeline Zero Drop blends zero drop comfort with unmatched durability, giving you natural stability, superior traction, and all-day support on any terrain. Oh, I lied, we got one more. I just forgot to grab the whole boot. And I forgot the 11th boot, had it included, the most expensive and probably the most unique construction out of the bunch, the Russell moccasins. So what is this boot? Well, the brand is Russell moccasins. The style is the backcountry. They retail for a steep $750. They're truly handmade in the United States. Both these boots very handmade in the United States, but the Russell moccasins allegedly take 2 to 3 times as long to make than even a Pacific Northwest boot, which takes 2 to 3 times as long, allegedly, as your modern work boots. So you can see why $750 versus more like the $200 range. Whether it's justified or not, that's where the price comes from. And the way they position this product is made from the original Russell bird shooter patterns. The backcountry's lineage is that of the most accomplished boot in American history. The backcountry boots are lightweight, highly water resistant, extremely durable. The backcountry is the boot we recommend as a customer's first pair. So that is the whole lineup. Anything from 160 bucks all the way up to 750 bucks. And if you want to see the individual long form videos of each of these boots, we'll link them below. So now let's start going through all these boots and the materials they use, pretty quick, rapid succession, to really start ranking these and figure out who makes the best wide toe box work boot. Starting with the leather first. Most work boots, you're gonna see anywhere from 2 to 3.5 is the thickest, but for the most part, especially in affordable work boots, you see 2 to 2.5. How's the Hawx stack up? Well, this is 2.2 millimeters thick, very heavily conditioned. It's water resistant, a pretty good work boot leather compared to the Keen Cincinnati. This is a lot softer and more tumbled, 2 millimeters, so a little bit thinner and sanded nubuck. Similar amounts of conditioning and wax worked into these, both are really good work boot leathers. Compared to the Red Wings, very similar, once again, lightly sanded, maybe a little bit less conditioned, and it's 2.3 millimeters thick, so all three of these pretty comparable so far. Barefoot, same story, 2.3 millimeters thick, about the same quality of leather. Next up is the Keen Liberty. This might be just a little bit step up in quality of leather. It's a little bit better saturated. It just feels a little bit hardier. It's probably gonna be a little bit more of a longer lasting, less maintenance work boot leather. And then looking at the Thorogood, this is more of your 2.5 millimeter leather. Exact same concept as everything else, lightly sanded, so you get that matte kind of look. The majority, the reason they do that in work boot leathers is you're gonna scratch and beat up your boots no matter what. And if it's actually a true full grain leather, like none of these are and most of them say, they'll get scratched really easy and it could just make the boots look worse faster. And it's also a lot easier to make a lot more flawless looking boots if you have a lightly sanded leather. So that's why you almost exclusively see nubuck leather or sanded leather in work boots. And once again, same story with the Carets, 2.25 millimeters thick. Even with the Jim Greens too, you know, this is the same story. Nubuck, lightly sanded, 2.3 millimeters thick. The Jim Greens are a little bit more traditional in how the pattern is actually made because you've got your true rough out, that suede side flipped out in the more abrasion resistant areas, and the Nubuck that makes it really easy to slide your pants down and gives it that more microfiber look on the quarters. That's what you usually see in like the handmade traditional work boots. Next step up is the Texerados. This is really thick leather. This comes in at 3 millimeters. This is bison leather, so that's where you get all these really unique pebbling effect that has like this almost pre-broken in feel because it has pre-break-in points where the leather wants to fold and roll naturally. Bison is a really durable, long-lasting leather. Isn't the most supportive leather because of how soft bison is, and it is more of a full-grain leather, so you will get those scratches that show really easily compared to the nubuck or the more rough out of more traditional work boots. Then to the king of really heavy and super thick and rigid leather, the Nix boots have a 3mm work boot leather where this stuff is really stiff. It's really tough to break in. It's finally to the Russell moccasins, 2.5mm thick. This is a very soft and oiled leather because of the moccasin construction. You have to have a leather that stretches enough but still holds its shape. It's not gonna rip. And so it's a very oiled and very supple leather. So as you can see, most of the leather in the work boot industry is very similar because all these basically have the same thickness, same quality, same finish of leather, and then your more upper echelon boots with these three have slightly different leathers. So that tells me, just to extrapolate some information out of this, as long as you're spending $150 and up on your work boots, you're probably gonna end up with a decent leather. And if you really wanna upgrade in leather, you gotta be up in that $300 to $600 price range. And as for ranking the leather, I'm gonna just rank the overall durability because there's more that matters with this kind of work boot than just the leather. The construction is one of the most important things with durability. How the boot is actually made, how it's attached to the sole. And we got a wide variety here. So starting with the Hawx, this is a 360 Goodyear welt construction, but it's a very modern version of a 360 Goodyear welt construction. Exact same story with the Keen Cincinnati's 360 Goodyear welt. Contrast this Goodyear welt style against the next boot, the Red Wings. This is a direct injected construction. This is a lot more modern technology. Goodyear welt is kind of the old school technology. It's really good because you've got thread and glue holding things together. It's really durable, it's repairable. But modern boot construction is a lot faster. And the way that they put these together is the liquid hot foam is infused into a mold where the upper is in, and all that foam cures to the actual upper, creating a near perfect bond to every square inch that foam touches. And really the third type of construction is here on the Barefoot. This, even though it looks like it has a Goodyear welt stitch around it, this is technically just a cemented construction. It's just all glued together. And if I were to rank these styles of construction from least durable to most durable, for sure the cemented constructions are least durable. It's just glue and glue alone holding them together, and the quality of glue can really determine how strong the bond is. Then I put above that the direct injected construction. But it's nowhere near as strong as a more traditional construction where you do have glue, you've got stitches, you've got multiple redundant parts holding things together. The Goodyear welts are more repairable, and that's why I rank them number one, along with the other traditional constructions that we're gonna go over here in a sec. Then to the Keen Liberty. This is a unique construction because it looks Goodyear welted similar to the Barefoot, but it's not cemented like the Barefoot, but it's also not Goodyear welted. It's direct injected, but still benefits from the Goodyear welt to some degree because it's molded up into like the toe right there. And the upper wraps really deep down in it. But keep in mind, this is something that's fairly new for Keen in terms of this specific construction. So you're always gambling anytime you're trying something new. But Keen's been around long enough that I like it. I think it's kind of a cool way of making a boot. But if you don't want to gamble on it, that's why we did the regular Keen that's the more popular Cincinnati, because this is true traditional and this is more modern. Even though the upper of this looks more traditional and the upper of this looks more modern, it's kind of a unique little mismatch. Then to the Thorogood, so this is pretty much through and through modern style construction like the rest of them. The construction is just modern, direct injected. Carets are your 360 Goodyear welt construction. Jim Greens are your 360 stitch down construction. And the difference between the stitch down construction and Goodyear welt, both traditional constructions with glue and stitching, very heavy duty. The Goodyear welt construction, there's a separate layer of welt that wraps all the way around the boot that the upper of the boot stitches to, and then the lower of the boot stitches to that same welt. So you've got two different stitches holding the whole boot together. Versus the stitch down construction, instead of having that separate welt wrap all the way around, they take that upper that was normally tucked in on a Goodyear welt construction, as you can see there, and they flare it out and eliminate the welt and sew directly through the upper as the welt down through the midsole. There's arguments either way which is more durable, and a lot of it depends on the leather, the brand. There's a lot of things that matter more than the specifics of the construction, but both are very, very durable. Texerado, 360 stitch down construction, just like the Jim Green. The Nix, also a 360 stitch down construction. And then to the most unique and most expensive of all, the moccasin style construction. This is unique once again because it's a traditional construction, but if you look at the cross section of a typical traditional boot, like the stitch down on the Jim Green, where the Russell moccasins are completely reversed. So you start with a flat piece of leather that you're standing on, and then you wrap it around your foot so that you have that completely seamless sidewall that I was talking about compared to this more 90-degree sidewall. It's not gonna be for every job. It's not a construction boot, but there's certain benefits you can only get from a moccasin style construction that you can't get from a stitchdown, you can't get from a Goodyear welt. You can only get it from this moccasin style construction, and you're in luck. October this year is all the traditional moccasins, so stay tuned for that. And then as for waterproofness, and if they have waterproof options, I'm just gonna list them here instead of going through them. And same thing with steel toe options and carbon toe options. Instead of going through it, here's a list of what is and what is not available. So now we've covered the most important stuff for durability. How do I rank each one of these 1 to 10? Not ranking them 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 10, but out of 10. Starting with the absolute least durable, in my opinion, I'm gonna go with Carets. It's just not a work boot. And that's the exact same story with the Barefoots. And so both of these got 6 out of 10. They're more barefoot than they are work boots. They're just barefoot boots you could work in. And then for 7 points, we've got the Red Wing King Toe. We've got the Keen Cincinnati. We got the Keen Liberty. We've got the Russell, man, I really did not spread these points out very far. Russell Moccasins, Thorogood Genesis, Hawx, and I think all those deserve a 7. And all these boots are basically in the same price range except for the Russells, and that's because they'd be like a luxury work boot if you got a pair for work. Then the next step above, I would give the Texerados and the Gym Green 8 because I'm handicapping the Gym Greens. It's only fair to do it. And then number 1, most durable, you gotta give it a Nix. The Nix is known around the world for making the heaviest duty work boots. I'm just gonna give that a 10 out of 10 because that is about as tough as a boot as you can get. Next thing we're gonna look at is comfort, because that's a big part of the reason why people like wide toe box work boots is you get that extra comfort from having lots of wiggle room for your toes. I don't care what anyone says, wider toe box footwear is significantly healthier for you than anything else. The one way you can improve your foot health is just wearing some wider toe boxes. So in terms of comfort, looking at the lining first, instead of going through every little detail, I'm just gonna break them out into chunks because the Hawx, the Keens, the Red Wings, and the Carets all have synthetic linings, which are really comfortable. They absorb your moisture, they wick the sweat away from your feet, but they smell like death. They're not the most durable. And the heel counters matter almost more than anything to me. The Hawx have a synthetic heel counter. The Thorogoods don't have a dedicated heel counter. The Keens have a fake leather heel counter. The Red Wings don't have a heel counter. And the Carets have a leather heel counter. The next style lining is just a fully lined boot like the Gym Greens are. It's fully lined from the toe all the way to the top of the boot. And then every other boot is basically unlined in the quarters and has a lining in the vamp. If you look at the Russells, it's got a waterproof lining in the vamp, but unlined in the quarters. So most durable, I would say leather down to fabrics. Same thing with the counters, leather, fake leather, and then no dedicated counter. And in terms of comfort, it's kind of subjective. I still think that unlined is more comfortable than a lined boot. Some people are gonna disagree with me, but that's how I'm valuing it. So to me, unlined is the most comfortable, then leather lined, and then fabric lined. But you could completely upend that and change the scores on your own opinion. But one of the biggest things that matters most in terms of comfort for work boots is the insole. It's what you're actually standing on all day, every day. And we got them all right here. And to be honest, insole quality is all over the place. It's one of the most BS ridden parts of any kind of boot and shoe. So I'm just gonna give you kind of a breakdown of stuff that I like and don't like. I do not like the Carets and the Barefoot, how it's seam sealed around because it creates high pressure spots and it's just a cheaper way of doing it. Then there's just your typical insoles that are foam and fabric capped, like the tops, like the Red Wings, like the dual density of the Keen, the Gym Greens, the other Keen, the dual density Hawx, even the flat Texerado and the flat Russell moccasin. And so most of them are that kind of style, where it's just your typical insole, but the most unique one is this Thorogood. You got the dual density, you got like actually 3 or 4 densities, because you got gel in the heel, pour on patch in the ball, the black foam, and then you've got this almost supportive shank plate in the insole, which actually does give you a lot of support. And so for the most part, they're all roughly the same. Almost all of them are replaceable except for the Barefoot. And to me, the thing that matters more than the materials that were used is how wide is it actually. So then how do these rank from least wide in the toe to most wide in the toe? Because they clearly vastly different from widest to most narrow. The most narrow and the one that we don't have a removable insole for is the Nix. It's a Munson last, so it's somewhat straight toe, but it's still very tight around your foot. It gives you a lot of support, and that's why a lot of people like the Nix. Keen is known for having really wide toe boxes, but you can see the Liberty versus the Cincinnati very different in width. And that's because the Liberty has this structured toe that's really thick. It's not quite like a safety toe, but it still protects your toes, but it takes up a lot of that room. So I'd give the Keens a 3 as well. Then bumping above that, I'd probably give the Russell Moccasin, you could give it a 3, but the thing that I talked about with the Russell Moccasin is it expands out, it really bulges out to your footprint. So even though initially it's a little bit more narrow than even the Keen, within a week, it can be as wide as you need it to within reason. Then above that, I went with the Red Wings. It's a decent amount wider. It really straightens that big toe, but it's far from like a super wide toe box. So I gave it a 5 out of 10. Then above that, the Thorogood Genesis, almost the exact same shape. And so I gave this one a 5 as well. The first big jump in width is probably the Carets. You can see it's a good amount wider, like a 1/4 inch wider on the side there. So I gave that a 7 out of 10, which I also gave the Keen Cincinnati because this is almost identical foot shape. If you look at that top down. And then even wider than that is the Bearfoot Bruin, but it's not removable and it's got that bound edge. So it's kind of hard to tell how wide it actually is, but you can see how wide that thing is. It's absolutely ridiculous how wide the Barefoot is. That's another 1/4 inch even more above the Keens. And almost identical shape is the Hawx. The Barefoot looks like it's a little bit wider, but it's also that bound edge that kind of curls up the side. So I think they're honestly about the same width. So I gave both them an 8 out of 10. And then absolute craziness with the Texerados. You know, once again, that's almost 1/2 inch wider than even the Hawx. And the Hawx are ridiculous because you look at the Hawx compared to even the Russells, and then you compare that to Texerados. That's a solid inch of width difference between the Russells and the Texerados. Like, look at that. That's ridiculous. So looking at all the things that matter most in terms of comfort, and even some of the stuff that we didn't have time to cover, how would I rank these from least comfortable all the way up to most comfortable? I would say the least comfortable, probably the Nix. I'd give it a 5 out of 10. Then 6 out of 10, I'd go with the Carets and the Gym Green. You gotta give it the penalty, the freaking handicap. Then with 7 points, I did the Texerados and Barefoot. And then 1 point above that, I had 8, most of the modern work boots. So with 8 points, I did the Red Wing King Toe, the Keen Cincinnati, Thorogood Genesis, the Hawx boot. So all 4 modern work boots, but these Russells are so freaking comfy. I gave them an 8 as well. The most comfortable, and I guess you could back this off because of how you lose a little bit of the width, the Keen Liberty. This was by far like the most comfortable underfoot. It's the perfect combination of comfort for me, and so I gave them 9 points. Next to, what are these boots actually used for? Are they intended for really heavy use, weekend warrior use? A lot of that comes down to the outsole, because if you look at the Hawx, it's a pretty good little work boot outsole. This is a 70 Shore A, nice hard rubber, oil is slip resistant. When it comes to work boot hardnesses for outsole, you see anything from like 75, your hardest, most durable rubbers, down to even like 20 for your really soft, squishy foam that it's not as durable. And so this is up near the top end of more durable outsoles. Next, a little bit softer at 55 Shore A is the Keen Cincinnati. This is a rubber outsole. It looks like a typical wedge where you're mostly standing on foam, but this is a dual density wedge sole. This is a really nice setup. I like this setup for work. Then the Red Wing 75 Shore A, I think this is a TPU outsole, which allegedly has a little bit less grip than rubber, but it has a lot more features of like, it has a lot higher melting temperatures, allegedly it's more abrasion resistant. Sometimes it can be more chemical resistant. So for a work boot, TPU is not a bad choice at all, and it's extremely comfortable because you've got this harder 75 Shore A outsole with a lot softer midsole. We'll go over in a minute. So very good work outsole. Then a little bit softer 65 Shore is the other Keen. It's a little bit thinner too. Out of the 2 Keens, I think this is the Liberty's a less durable outsole, but maybe a little bit more comfortable because it's got that loft cell, really soft, squishy midsole with all the midsole foam that we talked about. Thorogood comes in at about 60 Shore A. This is a nice durable rubber outsole. This is a nitro rubber outsole. It's a little bit more premium of a rubber specifically designed for work. And so this is a little bit of a step up from most of the other rubbers that are just a regular rubber. And this Carets outsole is a 60 Shore A, but it's not really a work boot outsole. It's a little bit thin. All the mud and stuff will get trapped in there. It's more of a casual outsole. You can even see it's got that like kind of faux heel in there. Contrast that against the really thick regular rubber of the Gym Greens. This comes at a 65 Shore A. A lot of these barefoot boots have this really thin outsole. It wears out really quick compared to your more traditional outsoles that are really thick, really luggy, and up to like 10 millimeters of rubber that you have to wear through to even before you need to start considering a resole. An outsole that's similar to the Carets but more work ready is the Texerados. So you can see a lot bigger lugs, bigger space in between, and they're angled. So mud releases a lot better if it's angled instead of just straight lines like the Carets. And even more work ready and bigger lugs and harder rubber is the Nix. This is a Vibram outsole, 75 Shore A. It's a Kletter lift outsole. And so you have anything from more casual to semi-work to work or like hiking outsole for these flat outsoles anyway. And then if you want to throw the Barefoot in there, Not the best outsole, it's more a casual outsole. And with the Russells, very classic Vibram outsole. This is like a shorter lug version of the V100 that's really popular, but this is a really good work outsole. It's really common, and it comes in at a 75 Shorey as well. Then you've got a lot of things that are worth considering, like the waterproof stuff that we talked about, whether it has a steel toe or not, even like the speed laces versus not having speed laces. Instead of going through all that, we just kind of tallied it up and looked at everything that we saw with the leather uppers and everything we saw with the durability, ranking these from more weekend warrior work with like a 0 all the way up to 10 with the heaviest duty work in the world that you could probably throw at some of these boots. Well, last place, probably put the Bearfoot Bruin. Once again, not necessarily designed to be a work boot, but they say you can work in it, and you can. It's just not gonna last super long on a work site. And honestly, same story with the Carets. Like the intentions there, it has the steel toe. It's one of the widest steel toes. But this is more towards that barefoot world where you lose some of that durability, you lose some of the quality because they want to keep some of those barefoot attributes. And it's a small brand, it's a new brand, and it takes a lot of years to really refine what you're doing. Then at 5 points, I'd put the Keen Liberty, because even though it's really comfortable, you know, you lose some points here and there because of that directly injected construction and some of the stuff that makes it comfortable. You lose some of the durability. So it's not the heaviest duty work boot, so I give it 5. Then at 6 points, do the Red Wing King Toe. I'd also include the Keen Cincinnati at 6 points. Even the Russell Moccasin, to give that 6 out of 10. So a lot of these more modern boots and semi-modern boots kind of get lumped together in a lot of ways because they're all in the same price points. They're all the same, they're all roughly the same materials, roughly the same style of construction. And so deciding between a lot of these will come down to some of the small stuff, like how wide do you actually want it? What do you value for the lining? Then at 7 points, I would put the Texerados, similar to what I ranked with the Thorogood Genesis at 7 points. And the handicap Jim Greens, gave them 7 points too. So I think these are all really just a step up from your typical work boots in the more affordable price range. You're gonna get you're gonna get some longevity out of them, some higher quality materials. And so that's why I gave them a 7. And then a big jump up to 9 points, the Nyx. That's about as beefy as of a 0 drop, wider-ish toe box that you can buy. You know, if you're really looking for that wide toe box, you can see the difference between how this all of a sudden looks not wide at all compared to the Texerados, who are literally as wide as the great state of Texas. But on that note, some people would not be caught dead in a pair of these. No matter how comfortable they are, no matter how durable, how good the value is, they're not good. Some people just say not gonna do it. It's just too wide. And this is more acceptable. And so I think that matters a lot to this wide toe box video, the actual look. So to me, the aesthetic and the look really matters. How do I rank these in terms of aesthetic? The worst looking, I like the dudes at Barefoot, but they focus more on like workout stuff. You can do some stuff in this, but they're not work boots. Same thing with the Hawx. I gave these a 5 out of 10. Then to the Red Wings, I gave this a 6 out of 10, but it just looks like a typical work boot at the end of the day. Same kind of story with the Keen Cincinnati. It just looks like a work boot. Same story with the Thorogood Genesis. I like the paneling, but just looks like a modern work boot. Then at 7 points, I really like the Carets. I like the look of these. Still like how tall it is. I like this laced toe pattern. I think it's actually a very handsome boot. Also at 7, I give the Texerados a 7 because I don't really mind the wide toe box that much, and I'd be willing to just wear these. Same thing with the Nyx. You know, I give these both 7. And Jim Greens, also give them a 7. With 8 points, put the Keen Liberty. I like this. This kind of looks like a Thorogood pattern. It's very traditional. And then number 1 that I think is the best looking out of the bunch is the Russell Moccasins. You know, I think it's a pretty easy statement to say. I love the look of the moccasins. We ran all the tests, compiled all the data. Here's all your puncture test results. Here's your ball and bar drop test results. Instead of going through all of them, I figured the information of the tests is more important, and explaining some of the materials differences and how you're actually gonna wear them is maybe where we wanna spend the time. But now, let's cut all these in half, even though we already have, see what's on the inside, and really figure out who makes the best wide toe box work boot. Which style should you be looking for? Which ones are worth the price? Which ones are not? And who is the ultimate wide toe box king? We got all of them cut apart. This alone is like $3,500 worth of stuff cut in half, so support us where you can. I like doing these really long videos, but they're very labor intensive for the editors. But I think there's a ton of value in compiling all this information together. So give us a like, give us a subscribe. Check out our handmade leather goods we make right here in the shop that support all this, and especially our collaborations. That's how we're able to do these multi-$1,000 videos. is because you guys keep supporting us, and it's super cool, and it's cool that you guys believe in what we're doing and keep supporting it. So now, let's see what's inside all these wide toe box boots. Now you've seen what's inside every single one of these boots. You can see all the different styles of construction, from the Goodyear welt to the stitchdown construction to the injected styles of construction, especially with the Keens being so unique, down to the glued and cemented constructions, all the different layers, the heel counters, the toe stiffeners, the multiple layers through the midsole that either give you a little bit more stability by having leather, or a little bit more squish and comfort by having more foam and more synthetic materials. How do they rank from worst value to best? I think it's pretty obvious maybe who would be the worst value, and understandably so, the Russell moccasins. And I'm not saying that they're bad and that you shouldn't buy them, but for a specific wide toe box work boots, $750 is a lot of money, and you're paying for this handmade construction where they're literally taking pairs of pliers and pulling that leather over the toe to give you that seamless sidewall and moccasin style. But for work boots, it's a pretty hard thing to justify. Next, I would probably go 3 points with the Nyx Ridgeline. They're still $500. It's a lot of money for a boot that you could maybe get 2 or 3 of some of these other pairs. Then next to the Carets, really cool boots, but they're just not work boots at the end of the day. Like even in their description, they're like, these are like factory boots, not like farm boots. Like these, be gentle with them. So I give them a 4 out of 10. And then same-ish story with the Bearfoot Bruins, 5 out of 10. You know, you could swap those, but there's just a couple elements to the Bruins that I think make it a little bit better of a work boot. Then with 6 points, I would give the Keen Liberty and the Thorogood Genesis 6 points. They're a little bit more pricey because they're assembled in the United States from foreign parts, both of these. So you do get that USA made stamp to some degree, but you do have to pay that premium. So I ranked them just a little bit lower for that exact reason. Then with 7 points, I gave Texerado 7 points. I gave the Red Wings 7 points. And the Jim Green 7 points. They're vastly different prices, but I think you get a lot for what you pay for with these boots. Not extremely well to where you're like, this is a buy that you should get no matter what, but they're really good value, and I think you'd be really happy with these boots and how long they're gonna last you for what you paid for them. Then to the number 2 spot, which is no surprise probably to a lot of people, the Keen Cincinnati. Probably is actually the most popular wide toe box work boot out there right now. I think more people buy this style of boot from Keen than any other wide toe box. Keen saw the value in the wide natural toe box like a decade ago, and they've been making boots ever since, and that's why you see them on every single work site. That's why I gave it 8 out of 10. But number 10, the most surprising one out of the bunch, the best value, $145 wide toe box work boot, good leather, traditional construction. It honestly is surprising that people don't talk about this boot more. So 10. So adding up all the points, who is in last place with 34 points? Maybe no surprise, the Carets and the Barefoot. Not self-proclaimed work boots. Both of them are like, these aren't really work boots. And so that's, you know, they scored 34 points. Then in third to last place, probably no surprise either, the Russell moccasins. Even though they're some of my favorite work boots in the whole freaking world, I love them. They're still $750 for a work boot. So 36 points, I think is a pretty good showing for a non-work boot that's one of the most handmade boots in the United States. Then with 1 point above the Russells, going with the Nyx. I think a lot of the reason why it didn't rank up the points like some of the other boots, because it really is a blend of a wide toe box, zero drop boot with Nyx and what they do best. So it's very contradictory. But for this specific video, just didn't score that great compared to the other one, so it ended up at 37 points. Then 1 point above the Keen Liberty, super comfy, but it's just got some weird stuff with the width and that protective toe. It's a direct injected style construction, so you lose some durability. It did really well in the comfort, so it ended up at 38 points, which I think is a pretty good showing, all things considered. Next at 39 points, the Red Wing King Toe. It's just a good all-around work boot. I think it scored well across the board. If you're looking for just your classic modern work boot, but that has a little bit more width, that has the name of Red Wing and the history of Red Wing that's been making work boots for almost a century now, if not more than a century, it's a good little work boot. Probably why it tied exactly with Thorogood's new modern style work boot. Thorogood has done something really cool with this Genesis boot. Instead of just making the same thing that's been working for them for decades, they really tried to innovate and evolve what they're doing for the future, and I think it turned out really well. We'll see in a few months, because we've had some 6 testers out there for 6 months in a pair of these, so we'll really see how they stand up. And I think they're both really comparable, and you're gonna get similar things. I think the Thorogood is a little more supportive, a little bit heavier duty, and maybe the Red Wing's a little bit softer, a little bit squishier, but both excellent work boots. Next at 41 points, the Jim Green Rugged African Troopers. Keep in mind, this was a boot I designed with Jim Green specifically for this segment of the footwear world. So even after the handicaps, all the points that we took off, basically took 1 point from every single score, scoring 41, pretty impressive, happy with it. Now to the top 3 wide toe box work boots, tallying up everything. Who's in the number 3 spot? Keen Cincinnati. Pretty honestly impressive showing, because this is the reigning champ of the wide toe box work boot world. Like, they probably sell more of these Keens than all the rest of these boots combined. So the fact that it naturally ended up in number 3, top 3 out of all these boots, pretty impressive, and really shows why it's such a popular boot. And it's not just hype, it's not just popularity. There's something about this boot that makes it perform, and it's the fact that it performed across the board really well. And the number 2 spot, really high scores across the board, especially in the value and what you get per dollar spent, Hawx. The Hawx to me are kind of the star of the show, because this boot is $146. It's a Goodyear welt construction, so you get that traditional durability and strength. It's sewn through with the toe. You've got the more modern style outsole where it's dual density. You got that harder rubber and the softer foam that gives you that squish. It's got a nice, thick, durable leather. It looks pretty decent, and it's a fraction of the cost of some of these boots. It's $146. It's even got a dedicated internal counter cover. This boot, it's honestly a surprise to me that I hadn't heard about it before this video. And number 1, which might not be everybody's number 1, depends on what you do, what your job is, but tallied up the most points over all the different tests, all the different things we looked at. Number 1 winner of the wide toe box series is Texerado. They just took everything to the most extreme. They're built traditionally like the Knicks. They're the widest toe box out of all of them, the thickest leather out of the entire group. And especially for such a new company, that has an impressive showing at 46 points. And keep in mind, your individual mileage may vary, because what we value and how the points tallied up might be completely different for what you need and what your job is. But at least now you have an idea of the top 5 or 6 boots that you might want to consider based on your individual needs. And if you want to see individual breakdowns of these videos, we linked them below. And if you want to see other videos like this, we put a bunch of those below as well. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know how you'd rank this. There's probably some stuff you disagree with, so let me know what your personal scores would be, what your number 1 wide toe box boot would be. And if there's any other boots out there that we missed, let me know. Maybe we'll revive this for next year and do an even bigger showdown. And thank you guys for all your support. So thank you guys. See ya. I did it. I did it.